Good morning, this is Reed Stout from Rex Game Studios here to talk to you about the potential severe weather outbreak today in the Central Plains. What we're looking at right now is the day one outlook, and as you can see, we have a moderate risk of severe thunderstorms extending from just a little bit north of Abilene, Texas, going all the way to Wichita, Kansas. I think we will have to look at this a little closer and look at some of the parameters, and that's what we're planning on doing today. I think this is a little bit too much right now. As far as hail goes, I think it's a great potential there, but as far as the long track damaging tornadoes, that threat's going to be further to the south around the Red River Valley. Obviously, anywhere in this area here, there's a potential for strong thunderstorms and damaging thunderstorms in the slight risk area. We're going to look at, primarily the focus is going to be on the tornadic activity today. So the next slide we're looking at is the tornado potential. Pretty much lines up with the moderate risk, and then you've got the significant outlook there of where there could be F2 or greater tornadoes in these regions. I definitely think that there is the potential for that. My only concern up here is that we don't have the deeper dew points like I'd like to see, and we'll look at that in just a second here. Next slide we're going to look at here is there is a current severe thunderstorm watch, which doesn't surprise me. There's a complex of storms that are moving into this region. These will probably ebb and flow throughout the day, but I don't think these are going to be tornado producers. We may need to watch these further to the south here. These might be growing into those areas. There is deeper moisture down here, and there's going to be better heating. Next, what we're going to look at is the satellite photograph, and you can see that complex up to the north here. Quite a bit of convective activity, a large area of fog. Some of this is obviously snow too. But we are beginning to see breaks in the clouds. The warm front is probably about right here now. And obviously we've got some clear skies going on here. There's not going to be as much lift up in this area as there will be down in this region here as we get into our further maps here. Now what I want to look at here is the current surface plot, and really what I want to outline here for us is dew points that are 65 degrees or higher. And if we were to draw a line, and I'll try to do my best I can to find everything that's above that value, what we have there is pretty much the area where I think anything below here, and that's also close to 70, so let's draw the 70s in here too. We could go way down there too, but I'm not going to try and do that. What we have here is where the deepest moisture is located, so 65 degrees or higher. We can see that there is a lot of juicy air here in place that's just ready to explode. The question's going to be is where things play out. Will this warm front move a little bit further to the north? Will this moisture move further to north? There's definitely a boundary here that's going to be in play. I think we are going to see the good chance for severe thunderstorms once they develop or are able to develop. Once the upper level features come into play here, I think we will definitely see surface-based thunderstorms. There'll be no problem with that along this boundary here. The question is how the wind flow is going to be. Once we get into the mid-levels in this region here, the wind flows are a little bit more out of the south-southwest, which means these storms are going to be forced off this boundary if this front does not move any further north, and therefore they'll lose their surface and they'll become a little bit more elevated type storms. So you're going to have a bigger hail issue than tornado threat. Whereas down here, it's not going to matter. There's plenty of moisture in place. You're going to have a greater chance for these storms to root into the surface, and I think your tornado threat's going to be far greater down around the Red River Valley than anything else, than more up here at this point in time. Let's move on to the next slide here. You can see obviously the boundary layer. Pretty much a warm front basically lays about right here. Really strong low-level jet off the Gulf of Mexico, no question about that. Love the fact that these winds are out of the south-southeast. Next, again, boundary lays pretty much around the same area here. Winds are really strong and howling. We have winds of almost 60 knots over Oklahoma City at this point, but there's no doubt there's a good strong low-level jet at this point. It looks well. Now here at the steering level at 700 millibars and greater, again here we're seeing winds right out of the south-southwest, and that's what concerns me about the fact that if thunderstorms develop in this region here, let me highlight that area here, these winds are going to force these thunderstorms up and over the cooler air, or the not so moist air, and therefore they're going to lose or get cut off right away. Whereas thunderstorms, if they develop in this region here, they're going to have a really good chance for becoming severe and potentially tornadic. We may actually have some left movers here as time goes on. We'll just have to watch this closely. 500 millibar, pretty much the same thing. Stronger winds, though, are a little bit more up here, which kind of concerns me for the photographs down the road. I would like to see a little bit stronger winds in this region, but this may, if this was more of a negative tilted trough, then I think there would definitely be a high risk. I agree with the fact that this is a moderate risk. Because this is a more positive tilt. It was more of a negative tilted trough, like possibly the April 10th, 1979 outbreak. I think we would have a much higher risk of tornadic activities in this area. I just right now my concern is can the updrafts sustain themselves a little bit further to the north. This is awesome here. We have a great situation here with the subtropical jet. Good defluent flow here aloft. This is kind of, again, this is still more of a neutral or kind of a positive tilted trough, but the subtropical jet is at 100 plus knots. So really where I'm seeing the greatest potential for severe weather and in dangerous severe weather will be mostly in this region here. This isn't perfectly drawn, but with this, if you follow this left entrance jet across, you follow everything else, the moisture, this area here, anywhere from just a little bit east of Abilene to Dallas, Fort Worth, to just south of Oklahoma City, to Altus, Oklahoma, along the Red River Valley, I think has the potential for the greatest, strongest severe weather, and specifically F2 tornadoes or greater today. And I do think there's going to be something like that today in those areas. We're looking at the Amarillo, Texas SKU-T and hodograph. Again, this concerns me a little bit here. There's obviously rotation aloft, which I have no problems with, but because this is not extended further out, Amarillo, though, I think has a good chance for some good thunderstorms, but I think this will be decreasing later on, especially as the low level, as the upper level trough moves out. I think this chance for severe weather will be decreasing, but definitely still has a potential there. Moving on to Midland, Odessa, this really kind of scares me a little bit. And what concerns me is the hodograph is perfect. Everything's perfect here. What concerns me is that we're going to get severe thunderstorms lighting up quickly along that dry line. What's going to happen to the anvils? Are the anvils with that strong of an upper level jet going to cut off sunshine later on? And that's what we're going to have to watch later. If it cuts off the sunshine later on down the road, down the distance there, we could have a reduction in potential severe weather at that point. Could cut off that insulation. And then here's Oklahoma. What concerns me about Oklahoma City is we have really strong low-level flow, but we don't have a strong speed shear. And that's what concerns me about the fact that these thunderstorms, like last severe weather event, will rapidly develop, quickly die out because the updraft is not able to separate from the downdraft, and therefore it will get choked off quickly. Even though the potential is there, we have low LCLs and so forth, but that's what concerns me there. Dallas, Fort Worth, again, very similar, but I think it's going to be getting that air that's similar to what's over there by Midland, Odessa, so I think Dallas, Fort Worth is in a good prime location. Again, what I want to reiterate is I think the potential for severe weather, damaging severe thunderstorms and tornadoes will be greatest in this region here, and anybody that's in that area for F2 or greater tornadoes will be likely in these areas here. We'll have to monitor this throughout the day, and we'll keep you posted. Thanks for watching.